Hi there, and welcome to the Biology for Non-Majors Laboratory course overview. So I'm here on the course homepage, and you'll see things like announcements, as well as a way to message your instructor for your course. There may be times when there's the activity feed that's down here. If that is being used, that should be able to tie to the app, the Pulse app, so help with notifications. So just kind of see where your instructor is posting information. So announcements will probably be the most commonly used. So just make sure you're keeping on top of that. And again, you can always use the messages to send them a message with any questions. So this is one view, kind of the block module view. When you first start the course, you'll only be able to see the Getting Started module in the top left corner. Eventually, the other modules will show up after you've completed everything in there and received a grade for those items. So then these others will populate and show up here as well. Another way to view that I sort of like is the content view, which is the same set of same information that's there, but it's just more of a list view. So it's just up to your personal preference that's there. Here's that Getting Started module. That picture hopefully helps kind of orient you with the wood scene in the path. As you move through the tasks, most of the time it will check off for you automatically because you'll complete it and that will register that it's done. But occasionally, particularly in the beginning, there might be times when you have to actually indicate that you've read something. That becomes the measure. So if you're feeling like you can't move on or it says something's not completed, make sure that these are all checked back in here. Most of the time that box will be automatic because taking the quiz or completing a post lab will automatically check that box for you. So after you get through the Getting Started items, the labs will be laid out the same, and I'll get to that in just a moment. And so you can already see here, because I haven't checked these boxes, I probably don't have all of the views that I need here, but there's going to be a practice quiz that's down here. So I'm going to just navigate and see if I can make that show up to confirm that I've seen those items. And probably that practice quiz will show. Here's the guidelines for that. There we go. So now it shows up. So the quizzes in the course, some of the assignments are going to be quizzes, and they will be taken as the Lockdown browser. So what's nice about this software is that there's the link if you need the software, but you actually launch it directly from here. When you launch Lockdown browser, then you can click on the Start Quiz and start the quiz. The steps for Lockdown browser are very, very systematic, so make sure you follow each step. Generally, the areas where students have some difficulty or have to repeat things sometimes, or maybe get an email from the instructors if they don't show a picture ID. It needs to be an official picture ID with your name on it, good, decent, good quality picture, CNM, driver's license, those types of things work. Also, make sure you have adequate lighting so that when you do something like an environment check, we can actually see your work surface that's there. And also the software needs to register that you're at the computer. So it actually has facial detection software to make sure that you're there the whole time. And so lighting is going to be key. And often, a lot of times, and I've had this as a when I go as a practice student, it doesn't even see me because I need to turn the lighting up around me a little bit. So make sure that you've got that all set. You'll navigate through those items. Once all that's been finished and graded, then you'll be able to move on to the rest of the course. So see how a lot of these things are already just set automatically checked off. So then you'll move on to the modules themselves. So they're all set up the same way. A couple things just to note, they always see at the top a quick overview, but also a short list if you're going to need any materials for the lab. Sometimes it's literally pencil and paper, or it's completely all online. But other times you do need to round up some materials that you have around. We try to be really flexible on what you can use. So there's always more details and suggestions in the activity. Then you go into the lab activity itself. And this, again, will have more details on materials. Like this particular one doesn't have a lot of, it's already flexible. But on other labs, there'll actually be additional suggestions of things you can use in place of that. So you can try to use what you have on hand. There'll be more detailed objectives, and this is kind of your lab manual here. So this is actually the background reading and the activities. As you go through, they're broken into different sections. Sometimes there's simulations in here. Sometimes there's videos that you're watching. Sometimes this one's particularly a little bit more reading. And here's one that gives you a couple of options, like this activity with or without a helper. So we try to really encourage innovation. You know, if you are doing it in a way that you can get someone involved to work on it with you and you want to do that, you can. If you want to do it on your own, that is also set up to do there. Most of them are on your own, but a lot of times people like to work with someone. This lab does not actually get turned in this view here, but you are going to turn in aspects of that. I'll show you that in a minute. There's always a data table provided. Again, we don't collect that. You can certainly make up your own on a piece of paper. That's fine. A couple other things as you're going through. There's always going to be a set of post-lab questions. Again, they're not turned in here. They're turned in at the link. I'll show you that in just a moment. And then there's going to be a discussion post. And the discussion post is typically some sort of summary of the work that you did. It may sometimes be just some reading summaries. Very often, though, it's results. And sometimes that you have an option to include a picture. Sometimes it's just merely a description. We try to be flexible. So let's say you don't have, the setup at that moment to take a picture and post that, but maybe you can do a description. Or maybe a picture works great for you and you want to do it that way. And then just some additional review items for the quiz. So this is on top of what the additional items are. You always want to make sure, I'm going to go all the way to the top really quick, that you are going through those objectives. So the objectives and then all those kind of post-lab additional suggested review at the end. The quizzes very often come out of these general reading sections, but sometimes if the results are going to be consistent amongst all students, they'll relate to that as well. Okay. So this is going to be the same for each lab. So this is just the first lab. Now I'm going to go on to the next item. And again, this is just a slightly different view, but we had the list view before. Here's that discussion. So this is just a summary of what I just showed you in the lab. So that would get posted there. And again, these will check off automatically as you go through them. This is the post lab. This particular one doesn't require lockdown browser. The post labs do not. It is those questions that I just showed you in the activity. And you would just put those in at this link here. Sometimes they've been converted to more of a multiple choice matching type format to accept it online a little easier, but sometimes they're short answer where you'll fill in some of your results. One thing to note on the post labs, they are set up to take more than once and keep your highest score. However, do not submit blank post labs to try to see the feedback and see the questions because it will not let you take it again. So you need to make a very sincere attempt to try to get some points and complete the post lab to be allowed those extra attempts to try to improve your score. If you have some sort of technical issue, make sure you get in touch with your instructor, but don't submit blank attempts because you won't be able to take additional post labs after that. But we do keep your highest score. And you do see some feedback and your question key, so you can improve there. And finally, each lab will have a quiz. So we've got the lab activity, we've got the discussion, we've got the post lab, and then we have the quiz. The quiz will always be in lockdown, and that should show here. So I don't have that activated, but once I do, the start quiz button will pop up. And again, you just click on it right there to launch it. It's going to be the same parameters as the practice quiz. This is a no book or notes. Everything else that I've shown you up until now, you can use books or notes. If you forget, the information is right there. So, and I think that is about it there. I'm going to go back into main table of contents. And again, each lab is going to be set up the same way. So just kind of pick the view you like. There's something kind of for everybody there. So there was that first lab we just went to. Lab 2 is going to be set up the same way. Do keep an eye on the due dates. They're always posted right underneath, and they're going to vary depending on whether you have a full term, like 15-week class versus maybe a 3-week or 7-week or 8-week type class. And what's really nice is this progress bar will kind of keep track as you've gone through these items here. So if you have any questions, please reach out. So this is going to be the same thing each week: activity, discussion, post lab, and then the quiz. And this goes on like this through all the content in the course until you get to the final. And in the final, you'll have some support there with some study suggestions. You will ask you to review the just the guidelines again on taking quizzes in lockdown or exams in lockdown. There's a practice quiz and then the final itself. All right, so if you have any questions, reach out, but that is about it. So again, pick your view, but make sure you orient yourself with all the different, contact options with email, where to find things. Don't forget, on top of just this course home, you can go to more of a content type view if you like the list, which is probably nice as a student to kind of navigate item by item by item. And it remembers where you were, so it took me back to the final again. You're actually going to start in the Getting Started module. The syllabus is here, a little overview for the course. Any other details, comments, questions, concerns, please reach out. Have a great term.